How should a Hyrox training week look like? Hey there everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Marcus, a dedicated Hyrox athlete and coach, and today we are diving together into my training routines. In the world of Hyrox, training is key to success. I personally train 11 to 12 times per week, and in this episode I will break down my training routines and to share with you what you as a Hyrox athlete should keep in mind when planning your own training for your next event. So let's start to talk about how important a well-structured training routine is for every single athlete out there. I am now like 8 weeks out from my next event in Frankfurt. My routine consists of the three main components of Hyrox training, which are strength training, running training, and the Hyrox specific sessions. Everything I do is based on my strengths and weaknesses. I'm aware of where I'm good at, where I'm bad at. So let's start with the first component, the strength work. So as a former national and European champion of powerlifting and former CrossFit athlete, strength is my strength in the end. So I don't spend a lot of time doing strength work, but I'm still getting in like 3 sessions a week at the moment, but those are pretty short, so no session is longer than 75 minutes, and I mostly start every single session with like 1 to 2 compound lifts. Means I do squats, barbell rows, deadlifts, lunges, do 3 to 4 sets of each movement. At the moment in the specific prep, in a range of 10 to 15 reps. That helps me to just hold my strength where it is at the moment and just keep strong enough for what I need in a Hyrox race in the end. So every strength session kicks off with, as I said, 1 to 2 main lifts, compound lifts, and after that I'm mostly going into a circle at the moment of 3 to 4 movements, scissor movements, and I just do them as a circle. Means I do all 3 to 4 movements at the moment just back to back, 10 to 15 reps of those without any real rest in between, just to get the stuff done, bring the heart rate up a bit and work on my strength endurance there. Doing it that way, I get in and out of the gym pretty fast and don't wasting too much time for strength work. But that's really based on my strengths and weaknesses. So I would say if you're coming from an endurance background, you should probably spend a bit more time doing strength work than I do at the moment. So have that in mind when you plan your own training program. After speaking about strength, let's hop into the second component of Hyrox training, the running work. As I already mentioned, my background, especially right before I started Hyrox, was powerlifting and CrossFit. So running was definitely new for me. I never trained running. I haven't done any running races in my past, and running training was new for me. So for those of you who don't know me that long, I came into Hyrox due to the Virtual Championships Hyrox Run 2020 during COVID, and after winning that event, Hyrox invited me to do their World Championships race 2020 during COVID in Hamburg. So I basically got a wild card for the lead race there, prepped for that race, and just did a lot of things wrong in my prep. So I was running too less, I did the wrong workouts, I wasn't aware of what I have to do to get a better runner, and I really just focused on CrossFit work. And that's a problem I see a lot in the scene, especially from CrossFit athletes that are coming into the sport. So don't miss the next 2 minutes and learn from my mistakes. So Hyrox is even more about running than it is about strength. So as I already mentioned, running was definitely my weakest point as a new Hyrox athlete. Even with my big sport background, I struggled a lot with it and did a lot of mistakes. I did the wrong running workouts, I just did short intervals, I just did the fun stuff. I wanted to get too fast in a too short amount of time, ramped up my running volume much too fast and got injured. So for the moment, and me and my running training, it's all about quality over quantity. I personally found a sweet spot at like 45 to 50 kilometers a week, and that's the whole volume I get in at the moment. So really focus on a lot of quality in there. And what I do is I run around 2 running interval sessions per week where I focus on a lot of threshold work at the moment in that specific phase. Means I do some more longer intervals, not a lot of short stuff. And besides that, I try to get into compromised running sessions per week. Means I combine running with station work, especially with stations that make the legs tired, build up some lactate, and I just teach the body to run under fatigue. And I think that's a really important point. I think especially new Hyrox athletes should focus on themselves. Don't always follow what they see on Instagram, YouTube or whatever, and build up their running wisely. Means don't build up running volume and running days too fast. Listen to their body, taking care over their recovery. As I already mentioned, consistency is key, and you don't get anything from building up running volume too fast for 2 or 3 weeks, then getting injured, and then just losing a good bunch of training time. And now let's speak about Hyrox specific training. Now, what's unique about Hyrox? Definitely compromised running or running under fatigue. And that's definitely a skill that must be trained and learned. Because I think we see a lot of really good strength athletes, a lot of really good runners coming into the sport and not hitting that fast times. And that's because of the skill of compromised running. I think a lot of athletes are really strong, fast and good in the individual components, but they don't bring it together on race day. And that's where compromised running comes into the game. And like everything else, that skill needs to be trained. So I wouldn't say I'm the fastest runner, which I'm definitely not, but I think the skill of compromised running for me is pretty well trained. So I can pretty close mirror my interval running times in a Hyrox race. That's just due to how I structure my training. So as already mentioned, I try to get into at least 2 compromised running sessions per week where I really train what I want to use on race day. Because I think the problem is that I see in the world of Hyrox training a lot of athletes are doing compromised running sessions, but they're never going as hard as on race day. And that's the problem. They're taking too much rest in between stations and runs, never build up that much lactate, and they are not used to what is waiting on race day. So when I go into my compromised running sessions, I make sure I'm fit and ready for those ones, and that I go really hard, that my transitions are really fast between the exercises and the runs, and that I really train what I want to use on race day. So have that in mind. Just what you do in training, you can use on race day. Race intensity is really important here. Don't be scared to overpace your runs here and there, to overpace your stations here and there. I think you will just gain especially that race toughness and mindset toughness you need for a Hyrox race. So in addition to those 3 strength sessions and 4 running / compromised running sessions, I do up to 5 station workouts. And in these station workouts, I combine mostly ERGs, means ski, rowing, assault bike, and mix those ones up here and there with some other Hyrox movements. Each session of those is like 50 to 80 minutes long and just creates additional volume. Means I don't always go that hard on those days. So for me, the most important sessions during a week are the running intervals and the compromised running workouts, but these sessions can build up volume, especially when you run a bit less kilometers per week. What does that exactly mean? We always have to have in mind that our heart muscle doesn't know if we are running, if we are sitting on a bike, or if we are skiing, rowing, or whatever. In the end, our heart muscle just reacts to a stimulus, and we can create that stimulus on each of those movements. Means when you run less running kilometers, that can benefit your training because it's less stress for your body. I think running can be maybe the most stressful thing for a body that needs the most recovery time. Means when we run less running kilometers, we can just add skiing, rowing, biking instead of that and create training stress, which is easier to recover. Means we can train and add more volume per week and get better athletes. how can you plan your own training program? Now that you have listened to the whole thing, don't follow that blindly. That training program and that training volume works for me in my life, but that doesn't mean it works for you. So have in mind how much time you want to spend with family, friends, your partner and other stuff, and plan your training out based on that. For me, 11 to 12 sessions are working perfect. For you, maybe not. And that's totally fine. I think the most important thing is to don't stress out because other athletes are training different than you. My life is different than yours, and that's good. So to sum that up, a well-structured training routine of strength, running and endurance training is essential for a good Hyrox athlete. Keep in mind those strategies and tips I've shared today and balance them based on your own strengths and weaknesses. And if you're looking for Hyrox running or erg training programs, definitely feel free to check out the description or my website. And besides that, I would love to hear from you. So feel free to leave all the questions you might have in the comment section. Let's build this Hyrox journey together. So don't forget to subscribe for more insights, and we see us in the next episode next week.